This is Astana Times YouTube channel. I'm Aida Haidar, and we are at Nazarbayev University to meet its new president. Hello, Mr. Ahmad.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm delighted, and thank you for this opportunity.
Maybe we can just walk a little bit, and I want to ask you a question. You know, very pressing question right now about the AI and education.
Yeah.
Many people think that it's going to kind of, stop students from learning. What do you think about AI? How it's going to change the landscape of education?
I think, unfortunately, we humans have a fear of innovation and technology. You can go back, people were terrified of the pen. They were terrified of written language, that it was somehow going to be the end of humanity. I think AI, like everything else, is a tool. And it's up to us, and we are smart enough and innovative enough to make sure that we make good use of it to make things better for humankind, to innovate, to make everyday living so much easier, to make this a tool for progress for economy and society. So it's up to us. It's no more than a tool. It can be a fantastic tool. It could be a destructive tool. It's up to us to make sure that we make it a tool for progress and development. So I'm very positive about AI.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Let's continue our conversation. Okay. Nazarbayev University for a very long time was in a very privileged position in terms of resources. Now I think the demand among the public, society, and overall, Kazakhstan youth, I would say, to kind of see the contribution of Nazarbayev University, because of course resources were very necessary for the university to actually build its profile. What do you think? What's your plans of how do you see Nazarbayev University now to contribute to the development of overall education, higher education in the country?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you. I'm in my second month here and delighted to be here. It's a great privilege to be heading up this fantastic, precocious, ambitious, very young university, but very young university with tremendous potential and a great desire to do good, to make a contribution to the development of the country. I think great credit also to the leadership of the country. It's a young nation, and there are plenty of examples of young nations across the world who, when they were formed, didn't quite have an idea of what they wanted to do, what was really important as an engine of progress and of development. And Nazarbayev University, I think, is that engine for the development of Kazakhstan. A great credit to the leadership of the country that they identified very early on that if you want to develop as a country, if you want to be on the world stage, you need to invest in education. In particular, you need to invest in higher education. So there is a privileged role for the university, but the privilege comes with responsibility. Responsibility not just to create a model of higher education which should be relevant to the local needs and regional needs, which will be a catalyst for reforming healthcare and lifting everybody else up through the example of setting up a university which is internationally competitive, which is recognized for the quality of its teaching, the quality and the contribution of its research, for leading innovation by turning research into products or improvements in public policy and so on. So, yeah, it's enjoyed a privileged position, it's enjoyed the resources. Without resources, it would not have achieved what it has achieved. But I, like my colleagues, am abundantly aware that there's a responsibility on us to build on the very strong foundations and really, truly put the university on the world map as a world-class institution to be judged on the standard measures that any other university across the globe will be judged. We're making progress. We're not there yet, but we are making very strong progress. And my expectation is that the current strategy, which takes us to 2030, will see us firmly there as a world-class university which is making a tremendous contribution to the 5 remits that we have.
Can you tell me some indicators of Nazarbayev University where it is now at this very moment in terms of, I don't know, research, citations? Yeah.
There are 5 mandates that the university has. 3 of them are held in common with a lot of other research-intensive universities. So great teaching, world-class research, and turning research into innovation, right? So no surprises there. Universities are about the creation and application of knowledge. And so you create knowledge through great research, and you apply it partly through teaching, partly through turning research into innovation. Those 3 mandates we hold in common with other world-class research-intensive universities. I think what's particularly exciting about Nazarbayev University is the two additional mandates. One is to be a catalyst for higher education reform, and the second one is to provide a model for integrated healthcare, which would be as good as any across the globe. And I believe that we're making good progress on all of those. So in terms of teaching, for example, I can't give you all the indicators, but for example, one of the things we're very keen to do is to make sure that our programs are benchmarked against the best in the world, that they're accredited by the same bodies which would accredit the great universities in North America, the fantastic universities in France or in the UK, and so on. So we are, in addition to the benchmarking that we do with great universities, we're going through formal accreditation. Our School of Business, for example, has got AMBA accreditation alongside other accreditations. It is now going through ASCSB, which is the kind of gold standard for business schools. The public policy programs have got international accreditations by 2 bodies. There are 12 programs in science and engineering which are going through ABIT accreditation, which is North American accreditation, the best of its kind for those kinds of programs, and we're not done yet. So we're still so that's on teaching and learning, but also we take pedagogy seriously. We take course development seriously, and our approach to teaching is that our students are active learners. They don't come here as empty bottles and we fill them with knowledge, then they go off. They come here supporting their own development and their own learning through being active participants in their own learning. So working working with groups, for example, problem-based learning, engaging in research on active projects, learning how to write, how to publish, how to defend the work that they have done. So if I leave teaching aside for now and just say something about research, I think in research there are pretty standard indicators, but let me just talk about infrastructure first. We are blessed with fantastic infrastructure. In addition to labs which we use for teaching, there are something like 150 labs which are dedicated to research, and they're cutting-edge labs where our doctoral students are working, where our professors are undertaking great groundbreaking work, and a lot of our undergraduate students are also participating in research in those areas. So great infrastructure, a lot of live projects, some funded externally, some we're funding ourselves. But because we also want to be a catalyst for reforms elsewhere, we do a lot of work in collaboration with other universities. And the idea is that by doing that, you're lifting up their standards, you're building capacity there, you're showing them what good research looks like, what great research design is like, what great research methodology is like, and so on. But outcomes, let me just finish this. In terms of outcomes, so one of the ways in which you can look at research is that are you publishing in journals which are highly regarded? Mm-hmm. Okay, so at the moment about 50% of our publications are being published in journals which are in the top quartile in terms of quality. That's pretty close to international standards, right? You can look at field-weighted citations. So these are the work that you are publishing. You can publish as much as you like, but if nobody's using it, then it's useless, right? So we keep a very close eye on, is our published research having an impact on the disciplines? And one way in which you look at the impact it's having is somebody citing you in their own work as a base, right? And So the global norm, the global average would be a field-weighted citation index of 1. That's the global average. Our current field-weighted citation index is 1.74. So it means that it's 74% better than the world average. Having said that, we want to be even better. So those are just a couple of examples in terms of teaching and in terms of research on the impact that we're having and indicators of excellence of the university.
Mm-hmm. My question was actually about, is Nazarbayev University going to collaborate with other universities in the country? And you actually mentioned that. Can you maybe provide an example or maybe the field of research where Nazarbayev University is going to partner with other university, other higher education institution in the country?
Well, we partner with them in everything that we do. And the way in which we're supporting the infrastructure across the country is in a number of ways. So, for example, we are providing a model of what a fantastic university looks like in terms of governance, in terms of academic freedom, in terms of leadership, and so on. But also in terms of teaching, pedagogy, course development, course design, and so on, and research. We are doing it through formal training and formal courses. So our School of Education, the Graduate School of Education, is doing a brilliant job. It's got alumni in thousands now. I can't remember the precise number. A lot of the people who undertake one of the master's programs from here have gone on to leadership positions in higher education across the country. There are some vice rectors. There are some people who've actually gone on to become rectors of other universities. So there's the formal side. But a very significant way in which we are lifting standards is through collaboration and research. So Nazarbayev University funds research through its own funds. And one of the requirements for one tranche of funding is that these need to be collaborative projects with colleagues from other Kazakh universities. So there are a number of ways in which we are making this contribution.
Kazakhstan has been trying for a few years now to create a kind of educational hub here in Central Asia for countries from far and near abroad, from neighboring countries, and it is done with the aim of exporting our education, monetize our potential in this area, and to attract foreign students is very important too. And Nazarbayev University has that, has scholarships for different students coming from different countries. What kind of progress we've made in your point of view so far at Nazarbayev University?
So let me begin with Nazarbayev University, but also before I do that, let me say something more broadly about education hubs.
Yeah, because you have such an expertise in this area.
So I come from the UK. UK has a history, hundreds of years old in terms of development of universities. Some of the oldest universities, not the oldest university, but some of the oldest universities, yes. Oxford, Cambridge, St Andrews, have got history which is hundreds of years old. So it benefits from that. It also benefits from the fact that it was an imperial power, and students from the ex-colonies, now independent countries, have gravitated towards the UK as the gold standard for higher education. But there are newer education hubs, and I think the UAE, where I was, is a prime example of a very successful educational hub, more so Dubai than Abu Dhabi or Sharjah. But Dubai and Sharjah and even Ras Al Khaimah, which is up in the north, are now beginning to attract international students. Dubai is highly successful. There are more than 80 international universities now in the free zone, in the education city, in Dubai. The universities make their own investment. There's a relatively light touch accreditation system, which means that they can keep their own accreditation, their own standards, their own governance, and so on. It's easy for them to repatriate any profits that the universities make back to the countries that those universities come from. But success is not inevitable. You can look at what happened in Qatar. There was a huge investment, but the experiment has not been particularly successful, and some of the universities which were attracted into Qatar have now started returning back home. Some of the elite US universities have decided that they don't want to be there anymore. So I think Kazakhstan has got all this experience to learn from.
Yes.
That what are the good things to do? What are the things which catalyze students for coming in? How can you maintain a system which has longevity and which has sustainability? And I have the privilege of having spoken to the Minister for Higher Education, His Excellency Nurbeg, and he's done a lot of thinking about this. And what's fundamental to his thinking is that he wants to improve the standard of higher education in the country through partnerships, but also catalyze students from outside the country coming into the university because of these partnerships. So that's a general comment about developing education hubs. The role that Nazarbayev University plays here is very significant. We do have fantastic partners. We are recognized as a quality institution. Our research is very much now on the world stage. Our pedagogy, the quality of our programs is internationally recognized, and with these accreditations, it would be very much up there with, in gold letters. But up till now, we have not made as much of an impact in attracting students from outside the country as I would like to. And I've already, I'm here for 2 months, and I've already set up a group to focus on this very specifically. I have a lot of experience of attracting international students. So what are the programs that international students are particularly interested in? We have many of those in areas like artificial intelligence, computer science and engineering. Business and management is hugely attractive and so on. But going forward, we will be developing other programs that we know attract international students to great universities. What kind of infrastructure do you need in order to attract students? And I think we have that. We have great dorms, we've got fantastic student experience, we have great labs, great teaching rooms, and so on. But the culture of the place is also important. Students who come from abroad, they want to feel safe, they want to feel that they belong, they want to come to a university which is multicultural, and where they feel that they will be respected, and their diversity will be respected. So I think we're doing pretty well on that. But we will also be investing in our infrastructure. So if we want students from Pakistan, from India, from Singapore, from China, from Mongolia, how do you do it? There's an art and a science to do it. Do we develop a massive recruitment team here who are constantly on a plane going places? Do we set up local agents and work with them in order to attract students and so on? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We're making good progress on it. And if we were talking in a year or two, I would expect to be able to report very considerable progress in this area.
And also, international students, they're also coming with, their intellectual capital.
Absolutely.
Which is in such a huge demand all around the world. They're hunting for talents. People are new oil, and all those things that.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You look at the best universities in the world. They are multicultural to boot. They have the best talents from across the globe. So the idea that you can have a world-class university which has no diversity, it's an impossibility. So we look at our faculty, for example. We have faculty from 60 different countries, and we benefit from that talent enormously. Our staff are predominantly Kazakh, but an awful lot of them have benefited from higher education in other countries. So they have that benefit of gaining knowledge, of developing their talents in a multicultural environment with talent from across the globe.
And also maybe have some contribution to the country, the economy where they actually, studied. Because many stay in the country, they open businesses and etc. So it has huge,
and they do.
positive effect on the country.
Exactly, and smart countries have made it possible for talent to stay. So Canada and its immigration policies, US and its immigration policies.
UK at some point, I think, had some policies.
Well,
similar
UK still has a policy, but they shot themselves in the foot by being very belligerent in public statements that we're going to stop the policy. They never stopped the policy, but they ended up damaging themselves. I think the UK's policy has been absolutely awful, and they've scored lots of own goals. And the sad thing is that the formal policy has not changed. It's simply what politicians and people in power has been saying on the national press, on television and elsewhere, that they've created this fear amongst potential students. So the beneficiaries have been Australia, New Zealand, North America, and increasingly the great universities in this region. So smart countries have recognized that attracting the best talent from other nations through higher education is in their interest in terms of supporting the economy, supporting public services, and making a more vibrant society.
Mr. Ahmad, I wanted to ask you about, since Nazarbayev University has such an extensive and privileged position in terms of research, in terms of its labs and talent, how do you see Nazarbayev University can leverage that resourcefulness in terms of partnering with the government, providing advice on public policy, on improving public services in the country?
I think it's a role that we take very seriously. I mentioned the 5 mandates, and 2 of them are specifically about acting as a catalyst for reform in health services and in higher education. But we go beyond that. We work with the government in terms of training senior people. So our Graduate School of Public Policy, for example, works with senior people working in public services across the country. We have a dedicated unit which focuses on experience sharing with public services, with other universities, with healthcare sector, and so on. And that's an important aspect of the work that we do. But we also make a contribution by focusing on those things which matter to the development of the country. So if you look at our research, we're doing a big piece of research on behalf of the government in developing, in lay terms, a Kazakh language equivalent of ChatGPT, for example. And it's a massive project, and it would very much put Kazakhstan on the map in terms of development of AI and how AI is being used to improve the life of everyday living for ordinary people in the country in a language that they can understand.
Is it going to be made based on NURI's, Nazarbayev University Research Innovation Center, the AI Institute, something? I remember that there were some proposition to based it on Nazarbayev University.
No, we've turned it into a private entity, so it has a life of its own. But it benefits from the leadership and resources of the university, and it also works very closely with other parts of the university. So we've got possibly the largest and probably the largest provision in computer science in the country. We have a very strong department of electrical and computer engineering in the country. We do an awful lot of work in mechatronics and robotics and automation. So all those areas are related to artificial intelligence. So the university has got massive resource base, and then this dedicated research center which is working on some very specific issues and making great progress. But that's just one example. Our School of Medicine, for example, is doing good work, not just in training doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals, but it works very closely with government departments, with the Ministry of Health, for example, in developing new models of integrated healthcare. Our Dean is currently working with the Ministry in developing a curriculum for a 5 to 6 year undergraduate medical degree within the country, which would be based on the best models which are available globally. Our current provision in our current doctorate in medicine degree is based on the North American model, so it's postgraduate. But I think we also feel that an undergraduate degree is the way to go for the country, rather than expecting people to do a first degree and then come. It just makes it too long for somebody to graduate and start practicing. And there are examples like this. Earlier on we were talking about the role of the Graduate School of Education and the way in which it has enhanced capacity, developed talent, developed leadership in the country, and many of the alumni from that program have gone on to run other universities, to be rectors and deputy rectors in those universities. So university is absolutely committed to being a catalyst for reform in public services, in the private sector. And maybe just to give you an example of the private sector, we've got a fantastic center for entrepreneurship run by a very eminent professor in our Graduate School of Business. And a key focus of that center is on women in enterprise. Now, if Kazakhstan is going to be a developed country, then it can't do that by ignoring half of its population. You know? And we as a university, I think I'm very proud that whilst we are a STEM-heavy university, more than half of our students are women.
I'm not surprised. What you're saying, I'm not surprised at all. What about renewable energy? I think it's also a very hot topic right now in the world, and specifically for Kazakhstan. We have so many natural resources, but also we understand that we need to, move from them at some point in time and be ready for that.
Completely. And Kazakhstan is one of the largest countries, 8th, 9th largest country on the globe. There's a lot of sun around here. And it's got all kinds of other resources. So we have an institute which works on the development of batteries. For example, so portable energy is becoming very important, whether you're talking about cars, or you're talking about running all kinds of other things. So we have a dedicated center which works in this particular area, doing very innovative research. Actually, there's a conference running starting today. It's a 3-day conference focusing on renewable energy, but also the importance of the development of batteries in renewable energy.
What about international partnerships? Nazarbayev University has dual degrees with, renowned Duke University, Michigan, I think, University. Maybe there are some preliminary results of that partnership that has developed since the inception of the university.
So I don't think we have dual degrees. What we have is partnerships. When the university developed, was being launched very sensibly because of the very high ambition for the university, that it wanted to be on the world map, it wanted to be research intensive, it wanted to be benchmarked in terms of its programs and teaching and pedagogy and educational technology with the best in the world. It partnered with a number of elite institutions. University of Cambridge was a partner, University College London was a partner, Michigan was a partner, Carnegie Mellon was an early partner, Duke remains a partner, University of Singapore, National University of Singapore, and so on. But the idea was that these partners would work with the university and support the university to set up its systems, its quality control, the quality of its programs, the quality of its research, absolutely at international level. 13 years down the road, we, I believe now, are a mature university, and we are developing different kinds of partnerships of equals, rather than somebody who's holding hands of this young, precocious university. So we're a founding member of the Asian Universities Alliance. A lot of the universities which are very much the kind of part of the global powerhouse in research and innovation and teaching are now in this region. Tsinghua, University of Tokyo, National University of Singapore. Yeah,
I think it's in the first place for patents at this very moment.
And I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a huge nation.
It left the United States behind.
Indeed. So we're a founding partner of the Asian Universities Alliance of 17 research-intensive universities. So we're moving to a different kind of partnership, as a partnership of equals, but also recognizing that we don't always have to look to the West. There are fantastic partners in the region that who would benefit from us, and we would benefit from them. So we have developed with Tsinghua, for example, recently we had a group of a dozen or 2 dozen students from Tsinghua who spent a fortnight with us. Our students have gone there. The partnership with National University of Singapore on public policy is doing well. Our students on the Masters in Finance are spending time at the London School of Economics, etc. But this is still work in progress. We need many more partners than we currently have. But it's now, I'm pleased to say, that it's a two-way traffic. It's not just that we are going and knocking at doors. People are now coming to knock at our doors. And so a couple of months ago, we had a delegation from Harvard University, for example, and they recognize our strengths in Eurasian studies, that outside of maybe Harvard and Humboldt University in Berlin, we are one of the strongest universities in Eurasian studies at master's level. So fantastic research, 60-odd researchers working on a range of things from language and literature to geology and morphology to anthropology and sociology of the region and so on. So we benefited from these partnerships. Others are benefiting from partnering with us, but it's very much work in progress, and we expect to do much more in this area.
And coming back to the first question I asked you when we met today about AI and students and how it's going to impact, the future of education, the future of our youth, the future, how they will, approach their work once they will enter the workforce. Since you have a very, huge experience in education, have you noticed change that AI made on the way young people study and actually acquire knowledge?
Yeah. And it has made a difference, and it will make a difference. Now, I think it's up to us as universities to catch up with the developments and make sure that we use them for the positive. So I remember 2-3 years ago when people started talking about AI, there were a lot of my colleagues who were thinking, oh, this is the end of academic integrity, this is the end of standards, nobody will know whether the work that a student is proposing is her work or his work, rather than ChatGPT writing an essay for you. And we're through that now. Nobody's terrified of this. There are systems for checking the integrity of somebody's work. But also I think we need to be smart enough. The students don't need to come to university to gain basic knowledge in a particular area. Right? They can go onto the internet and get that knowledge. Our job is about consolidation of that knowledge. It's about building competencies. It's about giving students the confidence. But in addition to knowledge of a particular sphere or a particular subject, it's also about developing them as individuals, as human beings. That an awful lot of learning, an awful lot of success that you enjoy or I enjoy hasn't come from the classroom. It's come outside the classroom. So things like clubs and societies, extracurricular work, engagement in running the university, in the governance of the university, those things are as important as anything that we do in the classroom. Mm-hmm. But maybe just one other point that I can make about AI and the general developments in technology. I think it's also helping tremendously in automating services, in making universities more responsive to the needs of its community, not just students, but also the academics, and that we spend time on those things which make a difference, which add value, not on the routine processes. So a lot in my previous university, Abu Dhabi University, we were very much the front runners in terms of automation and digitization of services. Students don't need to be in a queue here for this thing, and queue over there for this thing, and then queue over there for that other thing, when we can automate an awful lot of the services that students need access to.
So it streamlines the process. And
absolutely. So I absolutely welcome these developments, and I feel that it's remiss of colleagues if they are frightened of technology.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed this conversation tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.